So good.
Can you guys hear me okay? Do you want me to stand at the mic? Anybody want me to stand at the mic?
You're good.
I'd like to stand at the mic so I can hide behind the podium. I have notes. I am a rookie at this. I'm just the opening act. My husband is the show here. They invited me to speak and I agreed. I want to tell you guys first a little bit about our family. Corey and I will be celebrating our 20th wedding anniversary later this summer, which sounds bizarre because that's a long time. And I'm sure all of you feel like that's a long time. We met on a blind date set up by some mutual friends that somehow worked out because it was weird. It was a weird first date. And we now have 3 kids. All of them are almost teenagers. We have a 17-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 12-year-old who's almost 13. So we're right in the thick of the heavy stuff with our kids. Corey has worked at First Colony Mortgage for as long as I have known him, and I work there now part-time, just helping with some project management when we do any build-outs for new offices or remodels. So that's my main job there, but my first and most important job is just being a mom to our kids. When Corey said, "You get to speak too," I thought it was a big fat joke. I was like, ha ha, that's funny. I'm just gonna come and listen to you. And somehow that turned into reality, and here I am, layered up, so I'm not sweating, because this is scary. And you guys are really nice and sweet, but this is super scary for me. So the past few weeks, I've just been rolling in my brain that this is scary, that this is probably the scariest thing I've ever done. Because my brain gets worked up like that. I'm sure all of you have had your brain try to tell you stories that aren't real, stories that probably aren't the reality, that this is the scariest, the worst possible thing that could ever happen, and I had to go through in my own mind and say, okay, calm down. Scarier things have happened, harder things have happened, and I started thinking of things in our lives, in my life, that have been harder and scarier than this, just to help calm me down and show me that I can do this. I want to share one of those experiences with you guys, but first I want to tell you how we got through that experience. I'm just going to skip to the end and tell you that the way we got through it is because we have amazing support systems and amazing teams of support that surround us in more than just one area of our lives. So that's how we got through it. But the experience I want to talk to you guys about happened in our family about 3.5 years ago. I don't even know if you guys that know us know that this happened, but 3.5 years ago, we were at a birthday party for Corey's dad down at their home, and our son brought his bike with him, and he said, "I want to ride my bike down there with my cousin." He brought his bike, and off they went to ride their bikes in an empty church parking lot. It was a Sunday night. Nobody was in the church, literally not a single car in the church parking lot. So he and his cousin were about to race around the church to see who could get to the other side first. And they said, go. And in turns a car into the parking lot driven by a 14-year-old girl who was going to go there and practice driving because she's about to get her permit. She's excited. She's young. She wants to go practice driving in this parking lot with her older sister. Turns into the parking lot, and our son is right there racing his cousin. His cousin had gone the other way, and he was right there. She pulls up behind our son, honks, and because she doesn't have the muscle memory that the rest of us do that have been driving for multiple years, she couldn't find the brake. She found the gas and hit his bike, knocked him off of his bike, ran over the bike, and then ran over our son, stopping the car on top of his little sweet body as he was folded in half under that car. His cousin saw this happen and was there for that experience and quickly rode his bike just a half a block away where his dad was waiting for our 2 boys to come back. And his dad ran over to this church parking lot and immediately called us. We were just not even a block away. This church is super close to the home. Of course, I take off out the front door with no shoes on, running, and Corey smartly gets in the car and just drives there. And we got there about the same time and pulled up to our little boy sitting there on the ground, bleeding, super scared. Luckily, he was awake, and luckily he is himself, because when we got there and I ran up to him, he was saying, "Oh, I'm dead. I think I'm dead." And it's funny, and we laugh about it all the time now. In the moment, it was terrifying. When we go back and talk about the way that our son reacted and the things that he said, we laugh a lot because his sense of humor is super funny. But we piled ourselves into an ambulance and got to the hospital and found out he had multiple injuries. He had 3 fractures in his pelvis, 5 broken ribs, a broken collarbone, a partially collapsed lung, 2 large lacerations on his head, 1 front and 1 back, 1 right here, If any of you like gruesome pictures, you find me after and I will show you, because where it started and where it ended is really, really amazing how far we've come with that giant scar on his forehead. But he spent 4 days in the hospital. He was transferred by ambulance. We were at the hospital in Provo. He was transferred by ambulance up to Primary Children's Hospital, which is such an amazing facility that I'm so grateful that we have so close to us. And spent 4 days there before he was sent home. Because of the fractures in his pelvis, he was in a wheelchair for 6 weeks. And that was super hard for a 9-year-old boy to sit in a wheelchair for 6 weeks. He could walk, but what they didn't want to do is displace any of those fractures in his pelvis that would then require surgery. Luckily enough, none of his injuries required any surgery, which was a miracle. To make this super sad, long story short, he is well. He is healed. He is 100%. He's amazing, and he's stronger for his experience like we all are. But I want to talk about the support groups that helped Corey and I get through this crazy traumatic experience. And those support groups that I want to focus on are just 3. But first, I want you guys to think about support groups in your life. Right here, this is an amazing group and team of support that you guys have with each other. You have advisors and leaders here at the school that are a support group. You have your families, you have your friends, you have coworkers, you have doctors at your doctor's office that help to support you all in their different way. And so I want you to think about those different support groups. But the 3 I want to focus on today that helped us get through this experience is family, friends, and coworkers. And I want to start with family. We have such an amazing support team in place with our families, and not only did they fill in the holes for us, helping our older kids to be able to process their feelings in their own way, because both of our older 2 children had very different responses to this event. We're grateful for our family members that help support us. Corey and I, when we first got to the hospital, I'm the tough one. I'm the one that likes to see gory surgeries, and we got to the hospital and our son was hurt, and I was no longer the tough one. I was frantic and I was shaking and I didn't know what to do, and Corey was calm, and he filled in that hole for me where I usually felt like the strong one. He supported me in that space so that I could just react in the way that I needed to react, and that he could just be there and calm and sit with our son. So our support team of our family and each other was amazing in that event. The second group I want to talk about are our friends. We have really amazing friends. And a little piece of advice I want to tell you guys is you really only need one great friend in your life, whether that's somebody in your family or somebody here in your class. You just need one great friend at any point in your life, and anything more than that is just the cherry on top. But Corey and I are lucky that we have a lot of great friends who, during this time, fed us and checked on us and brought special gifts to our son that made him feel special, some of which I see and remember all the time still, little mementos of this event that our friends brought when they were thinking about us and supported us through this time in our lives. The third group I want to talk about are coworkers. The amazing group of people that Corey has found and created at First Colony Mortgage not only helped to lighten his load and my load at work with the things that we had going on, but were willing to take on some of those projects as their own, push some of those projects out that weren't as important, even though they felt really important at the time. They're like, it's not important. What's important is being with your family and making sure that your son is well and healed. And they really, really stepped up and helped us through this event and became a main support team by checking up on us, checking up on Corey to make sure that he's okay. Even though our son went through this hard thing, we weren't okay either. Our kids were not okay, and it was really scary and really hard, and we had that amazing support system of his coworkers there to help lift us up when we needed it. So I want each of you to think about different support systems in your life. Pick one in your head. I won't ask you to share. I just want each of you for just a second to think about these different support systems in your life. And then think about which one is your favorite. Which one is the one that you value the most? Okay. Probably, I believe the one that's your favorite is the one where you can get the most deep and meaningful connection with that group of support. That's what I believe. And I believe that that deep and meaningful connection can be created. It doesn't just happen out of the blue. It takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of effort, and sometimes a lot of pushing through some scary things to create that kind of deep and meaningful connection with your support groups. I have a group of girlfriends that I have been really close to since high school, which is a long time ago. But we're still really great friends. We were just able to go on a trip, and I was able to plan this whole trip for us, and it was so amazing that I was able to plan these events, and then these events turned into opportunities for deep and meaningful connection. And it was a boon to my soul to be able to spend that time with them and create those deeper connections, and it's really, really important in my life, and I know it's because of those deep and meaningful connections. Rich Christensen has the most amazing program for families. It's really hard sometimes to create that kind of deep and meaningful connection in your family because your kids are younger than you, or your parents are older than you, or you're all doing different things, but I feel like your program is second to none when it comes to teaching you how to create those deep and meaningful connections. But I really want to talk about Corey and his company at First Colony Mortgage, because the culture there and the connection that they feel as a work family is unmatched, I believe. And it's really amazing to watch and see what they've been able to do. One of the ways that at their company that he has helped to facilitate and create these deep and meaningful connections is through big events that they all get to participate in, not just their clients, but for the employees' families. Something really cool that they try to do every year is focus on some kind of philanthropic venture that everybody can be a part of. They bring them in, they share the stories, and allow everybody to be a part of helping the community in some way, and that brings them closer together and allows for that culture to grow. We were on a company trip a few years ago with a bunch of his employees. It's a trip that's earned every year, and they get to bring their spouse, their employees. And one of the spouses came up to Corey and I, and he said, I work for a company, and our motto this year as a company is we are a family of families. And he goes, and I didn't really understand what that meant until my wife started working here at First Colony Mortgage with you guys. He goes, because I really feel like First Colony Mortgage is a family made up of families. And it takes a lot of work. I know that he puts in a lot of work to create that kind of environment and create that kind of value, but I see it when I go there. I see that people enjoy being there. I see that it's a team of support that people really value, that they want to be a part of and want to continue to be a part of and stay. And a lot of these friendships and employees stay for a long time because of the value. They've got people that offer employees jobs. Hey, come and work for me. We'll pay you more. We'll do this. And they're like, that's amazing and that's valuable, but what's the culture like? Because I value that as well. And it's really a blessing to see what you can create and the support teams that you can create in your life that can become important to you. I challenge each of you to put an effort into deciding in your mind which of these support teams is my favorite and making the effort to really cultivate those deep and meaningful connections so that you can have that kind of value and that kind of friendship in each of your lives. Thank you for letting me speak. I'm going to turn the time over to Corey. For the main event. Oh, yeah, we got to switch. Where do you want it clicked?
Just wherever. 20 minutes. Perfect. So the other day I was with, and I'm going to drop the name because it'll actually add value to this. Andy Reid. You guys know who Andy Reid is? Head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. Fans? We were friends with him and his wife, and the other day he told me, he goes, you outkicked your coverage when it comes to marriage. I was like, ouch. But that's a good thing, I think, to outkick your coverage. No, the thing that she left out in that story about my son, and this is probably one that we don't talk about that much, so I was actually surprised you went through that when you told me you were going to do it last night. The one cool thing I think is, let me put this on here. You know when all the chaos is going on, the ambulance shows up, they're loading everything up. The coolest thing I think I saw in my wife that day was, it's even hard to talk about. The girl that hit our son, she was 14, so no one ever thinks of her. Everyone thinks about my 9-year-old son at the time. And the ambulance is ready. They're like, let's go. We got to go to the hospital. This is chaos. And I'm looking for my wife. I'm like, where is my wife? She's hugging the girl that she hit. So that's the woman I married. We have, that's hard to talk about. No, but yeah, she was hugging the girl that hit our son, just to make sure she was okay before we jumped in the ambulance to fly to the hospital. It was chaos. Today I want to talk a little about experience. We're having some technical difficulties, I learned, so let's go through these real quick. Let me see what I got. So usually we have like a game where I'd have you guys all jump in on your cell phones. You'd write what you think your experience. What's your experience at SUU? Can someone just shout it out? Anything? Who's brave? Involved. Ooh, I love that. Involved. What else? Come on. Personalized. Personalized. This is perfect. This is fitting right in. Let's go to the next slide. How many of you know what you guys are doing after graduation? What are you doing?
I think I will continue the internship.
Internship. Where are you interning at?
It's at Mountain Zion Ranch.
Mountain Zion Ranch. That's awesome. Well, I saw some more hands. I'm not going to be more mean than that. Where are you working?
I'm going to be an elementary ed teacher.
Elementary ed. Awesome. Cool.
Grad school.
Where?
Grad school.
Congratulations. That's awesome. A lot of cool things. There's all sorts of different paths and different ways that you can go with this. Let's go to the next slide real quick. I just kind of want to see who I'm speaking to and know the groups. How many of you want to own your own businesses? I love it. I love when people see that and they see the entrepreneurship. That's why I love and I agreed to come and speak to this. And also Rich Christensen, maybe one of the hardest people to say no to. I don't speak very often. Those who know Rich, if he asks you something, you're doing it. Don't just give up the fight or any back off. Let's go to the next one again. A little bit about my company, First Calling Mortgage. It's been around so I grew up in the company. I started working there literally, I think I got my first paycheck when I was 5 years old. It's a family company. I grew up in it. I was doing mortgages in high school. I was doing real estate in high school. I cannot believe a teacher literally gave me his pay stubs and W-2s knowing the kind of student I was. But they did. I started learning mortgages. I started learning personal finance. I started learning all those different things. I never realized the path I started on when I was doing things, so you just never know what's going to happen. So, and it's funny, my partner, this long-haired hippie kid right here, that's my business partner. He was also my roommate in college, freshman year. We've just hung out together, and he's been with me as we've grown this business together for a long time. We don't want to age ourselves. I'm 41, but I look older than that, I've been told recently, but it's not a good feeling. But we've been growing this company. We're located throughout many states now. I think we're the fastest growing, I've heard, in the Intermountain. But the whole thing hasn't been based, I mean, look at the two of us. I'm not saying to judge us on the way we look, but guys, we are not these brilliant business people. We know what we're doing. We have drive. We have all the work ethic. But the thing I think has given us the most success by far is just the experience and culture that we've tried to build. We've never chased dollar. We always say what? What's our saying? I'm gonna make you say it. Culture over dollar.
Don't put me on the spot.
Culture over dollar. That is something we believe in full-heartedly. And one thing that we've been lucky to, let's go to the next slide. I just gotta make sure, because I'm not, without all this stuff, we're gonna talk about this, culture and teams. So we have the opportunity, is anyone LeBron fans in here real quick? Good, we're gonna smash LeBron. He's not the GOAT, Jordan's the GOAT. Oh, okay, I heard some no's. Who is it then? Kobe, you got some Kobe fans, what else? LeBron to me is not the GOAT, I'd say Jordan's the GOAT. And we'll kind of talk about that here. But we have chased culture more than anything in the world. In fact, we've been lucky enough, there's a guy by the name of Dr. Craig Manning. Has anyone heard of him? These guys have. So Dr. Manning, what he does is he's a mental strength coach. And he works with athletes. He's worked with LeBron one-on-one for years. Right now, Giannis Antetokounmpo, they meet every day for an hour a day. He's currently working with the world's number 8 female tennis player. In 6 months has got her to number 2. Shaun White, Roger Federer, the Red Bull team. He is the best in the world, okay? So I'm just trying to tell you who this guy is. He works with like Lululemon, and randomly, First Colony Mortgage, our little company. And the reason he chose our little company is because we do chase culture. We chase experience and what it is. And so go back to when Silicon Valley is starting up. There was a study done. Actually, let's just keep it on this one. This is Meg. Meg keeps my life completely organized. And I want to make sure we don't talk about the people that did it so as much. Like I've got these notes. James Barron and Michael Hanna, they were sociologists, professors at Stanford. And their whole thing was culture mattered as much as strategy. Any thoughts on why? Rich, I'm gonna have you answer that one because you put me up here. Why is culture just as important as business strategy, do you think?
I think it's what bonds and gets everyone so they're really pulling people to yoke rather than just randomly chasing.
100%. So I'm going to break down star culture. Just because of time, we're not going to break all these down. But so they did a 200 company study over 15 years. And they wanted to study, and they basically took all these companies, interviewed them, studied them, went through everything, talked about their hiring process, how they treated their employees, what they did, how they worked together, even the way that they structured their meetings. And they broke them down into these 5 groups right here. And they talked about which culture or which companies had the best results in the culture. So let's talk about star culture. This is where I'm going to pick on LeBron James. Star culture. What star culture is you give your salesman all the power, or whoever you think is bringing the business or making the most money. That is who you cater to the point where LeBron James, let's go through LeBron's career. Who can help me? Where did LeBron start? What NBA team? Cleveland. How'd it go? So where he started getting big head, he goes, everything came out. I'm a witness? Is that the term they used? They kept talking about LeBron, and LeBron starts getting a big head. But he's an amazing basketball player, right? So he's in Cleveland. It wasn't a big enough market. He wasn't having enough fun. They weren't surrounding him. He's getting frustrated with ownership. It was just button heads. So what does he do? Where does he go next? Tell me about what happens in Miami. Who's on his team? Dwayne Wade. Who else? Chris Bosh. You get Ray Allen. You start creating this culture of star mentality to the point where Spoelstra is not even in control of the team. Pat Riley, is that the GM? Pat Riley he's not even in control of the team at this point. LeBron is in control of the team. And he starts controlling players. This is your role. This is what you're going to do. So things start getting ugly down there, right? They won 2 championships, quick success, and then what happens? What's that? Yep, goes back to Cleveland. It kind of blows up, right? The success started to die. Players were starting getting frustrated with each other. Coaches were getting frustrated. You just saw kind of this internal combustion. Where next? So we went back to Cleveland. What happens? Who's you get? I know there's some sports fans out here. You get Kyrie, Kevin Love. That's right. So tell me about that experience. They win a championship, right? Absolutely amazing. Then it blows up. Completely blows up. Kevin Love says, I don't want anything to do with this. Kyrie says, get me off this team. LeBron announces, I'm going to LA. What happens in LA? It's been a hell of a season. Help me out. What's going on right now?
First couple of years, he was terrible. Picked up a good players, won a championship, and now he's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's bad. I don't even know if they're going to make the playoffs. They probably will, but I mean, they're going to be a play-in team. The most amazing thing about this culture, is star culture, is you can watch it. Quick success, quick failure, every single time. And you can look at star culture, and you can see it in companies where the sales groups or the different groups start to control the actual management, the ownership teams, where maybe operations is not have any say. It's just all whatever the sales people or the people that are bringing the money in, or the people that create the product, and everyone else that's developing and manufacturing it just has no say. That's a star culture. I'm not going to break every single one of these down in like I did that one, but that just kind of, you can see as you apply in each of these different things. So that's star culture. Next culture that they studied was bureaucratic culture. Bureaucratic. Basically what the bureaucratic culture is, something I think is the most interesting, is this is the most common in businesses right now. And you can see this from, I can actually put timelines on this. Bureaucratic's about 1975 to about the year 2005. This is when you have a CEO and an exec team. This is a very, very common business structure, okay? CEO says, hey, exec team, I need you to go do all these things, but this is where everything stops, is right here at this level. There's not as much say from anyone else. You guys see that in businesses? When you guys study businesses, look around, that's a very, very common thing. But it's changing away from this right now, more than anything. And then you can go back. This is like the 50s, 60s, 70s, autocratic culture, 1 or 2 people in charge. The 1 or 2 people literally control everything. No one else can think. No one else has any say. There's no creative thinking. You're in your box. You've been put and said, this is what you do. You twist the widget this many times because that guy says to do it, okay? So you're seeing it change from this to this to this. Engineering culture. Any guesses? I wish our thing was working, then we could use it a lot, get a little more interaction. Engineering culture, what it is this one people get stuck on. They will, so I'm in real estate a lot. I see when architects will sit there and fidget with a plan, or a city council will just shut down a project because they want the roads a certain way. They can't ever put anything into action, okay? This is where it's all changing to, is commitment culture. This is something we strive for at First Colony Mortgage, something that we've been taught by Dr. Manny that we really, really need to chase. And I feel lucky enough, it wasn't me that started this, I'm gonna say my parents started this type of culture where everyone has a say. We have a thing called lateral leadership, or it's very, how do I explain that? That's a tough one to explain. So basically, we don't have someone that's just in charge of anything. It's basically everyone has a say. We do have titles. I hate titles more than anything in the world because it makes you automatically give judgment or think that person's cool when they're not, in what they do. So it's very much everyone is involved, everyone has ownership, everyone is part of what's being built. So looking at these cultures, after that 15-year study, what was the one that failed the most? It had 100% fail rate. What do you guys think? Nope, wasn't STAR. Autocratic. This had 100% fail rate in the study. Really, really interesting, having one person control everybody. But I'm like, no, that's not interesting. That makes a ton of sense. Having one person with their mind, I don't care how brilliant the mind is, it's not gonna, you can't just have one person's mind trying to create for so many different people. What do you think the next one was? The next one, engineering. Who said engineering? Nice. Engineering, you wanna know why? It never failed, it never succeeded, it just stayed flat. That was really, really interesting to me. It was just constant, never super profitable, never really did anything, just flatline for a lot of years. Sounds pretty damn boring in my eyes when I hear that. The next most successful, what do you think it was? Bureaucratic. That's the more common one that we're seeing today. That's the one the most common through like 80s, 90s, really even early 2000. Okay, that was the next most successful. And then the next most successful, surprisingly, was star culture. The reason that star culture succeeds is it's like this. It's LeBron. Quick success, quick failure. Quick success, quick failure. Constant rebuilding. It had about a 60% success rate. This was what was the most interesting thing about this study, was the commitment culture, where you have, everyone has a say, everyone's involved. Leadership, it's not a work for style, it's a work with style. There's a lot of different ways you can define this culture. What do you think the success rate was on this one? Any guesses? 60% for star culture.
85.
Higher, what? Higher. Higher. 100% success rate. In 200 companies, they found that this had the highest success rate by far. It was the fastest to go public. It was the most profitable. It had the least turnover among employees. It was literally the key to success. I find it interesting right now, and this isn't part of something I was going to talk about, but I've been reading about Disney. Do you guys know that Disney's about to fire their entire C-suite, all their executives? The reason is because they're chasing, they say magic. They're chasing dollar over magic. I'm going to say culture. That is a really interesting thing, that this company that's probably the most successful company you would know, Jesse, Disney, they own everything, right, pretty much. The whole time they've kept this little secret that they are chasing magic over dollars. And right now that whole group is literally up because the board and a lot of people are just frustrated. They're like, it doesn't have the feel that Disney requires to be a successful company. That's really interesting. It doesn't have the feel. I hate companies that chase everything off of spreadsheets. You will see so many companies, especially as they get bigger, that run purely off of a spreadsheet over an individual group, over someone's thoughts. So the commitment culture is one of the biggest things I wanted to hit today, because what is commitment culture? This is something that's really interesting. So I'm in mortgages. We'll do about 1,000 mortgages a month. And we see, you guys are all young. You guys do not care about a paycheck as much anymore. It isn't the highest bidder gets who you're going to go work for. It's more experience. We have people changing jobs faster than ever, so we see it because we have to go verify all their employment for years. People are changing jobs faster and quicker than we've ever seen. We're seeing some people in tech companies will jump, every 4 months. And it's not always for more money. What do you think it's for? You guys are young, tell me, why are you guys bouncing on places left and right? Work environment, 100%. I think in order for a company to be successful, those people that raised their hands at the beginning and said, I want to own my own business. If you want to own your own business, you better start thinking about how that culture is going to be more than how you think you're going to make $1. Our environment in mortgages, our whole sales staff is 100% commission. There's no base salary, there's nothing there. And so keeping those people, I and Jackson and many other people, we talk every day about how are we going to maintain our turnover rates. You can't lose your best people. How do you raise people up from, I've never done a mortgage, to producing $100 million a year in mortgages funded? It's a really interesting concept. We talk about this in our company more than anything else is culture. Can we go to the next slide? Let me see what I got. So star culture, bureaucratic culture. Sorry, I should have gone through autocratic, engineering, commitment. So let's go back to commitment culture real quick. Let's go back one. Still have leaders. This is what they came out of the study of commitment culture. This is what you have to do in order to build people and to have your own business. This is a really, I cannot tell you, like everyone says, you guys know real estate, you guys are so smart in finance. No, we're not. We all have the same rules in mortgages. We all have the same rules in banking and finance. In real estate development, we all have the same city rules and laws and blah, blah, blah. It literally is culture and experiences you have with people. So let's go to the next slide real quick. One thing about culture in a business, it's everything that is in the past. Here's some of the definitions of the culture. Let's go to the next one too. This is one of the most interesting things. Culture is a past tense. Everyone says, oh, our culture at SUU is so good. And the thing I learned is it really is good. The SUU culture is amazing. You guys are lucky to be here. And the thing that I love is they love, as I've been walking around the campus today and meeting with different people, is they love that you're here. Do you guys feel that? It has been really interesting to hear how the people who run the university just how much they care about you guys and how much they think through your daily lives and how much thought processes go. And I've been to other universities before, and all you hear is, oh, they're so lucky to be here. You're so lucky to be here. That's not how it works anymore. That is going back to old school business and old school culture. The culture, even at the university, is thanks for being here. We appreciate you guys being part of SUU. We want to help you succeed. How can we help you grow? I hope you guys feel that, and then as you guys go into you guys start businesses, go into your next business or wherever you're going to work or after you graduate or while you're here at SUU, let's go to the next slide real quick. You have to be part of the experience. The only way to change culture, because culture's in the past, you can't live off the past. You have to basically create the experience for yourself and experience for each of your classmates in every group. My wife talked about support groups. How are you going to create the experience for someone where they have a deep connection with you? How are you going to make someone want to work with you? That's a really scary thought when you say, okay, I want to own my own business. Okay, that means I have to have people that want to work with me. What am I going to offer for that? How am I going to make them happy? How am I going to let that person grow? How am I going to let that person be the most successful? And how am I going to give them experience or opportunities? That's when you talk about culture, if you want growth in a company and different things, you have to give them the experience. You have to constantly be creating experiences, whether it's through charity work as a company, whether it's through challenges, goals. We do all sorts of things at First Colony Mortgage in one of our companies. It's just, you have to always create an experience. And the thing that I love the most about our company is I have zero turnover. We don't have turnover. In my industry, turnover is constant. We don't have turnover, and it's because we chase culture. And once you create that culture where people want to be there in the atmosphere, I can work faster, I can get more accomplished, I can run a leaner team. Because as you work together and you experience things together, you create trust. And the thing about trust is trust equals speed. If I trust someone that they're going to get it done, I don't worry, and I put my energy and effort somewhere else. Trust equals speed. So you have to be able to create that culture and experience for everyone. Let's go next one. Definition of experience. You have to be able to create experience to maintain culture. Culture's past, experience is future. If you're going to chase something, you got to chase experiences. Let's go next one. This is literally our theme this year at First Colony, is be the experience. So we really, I put a lot of data and different things and stuff. Please let me know if you guys have any questions. I want to turn over to Q&A real quick, whether you want to talk about real estate, if you want to talk about building a culture in a company, things that we've done, more about the commitment culture. There's so many things that goes into this. People are not chasing paychecks. People want a paycheck and they want an experience. And that experience is so personal to each of you. So that way, if you're going to own a business, you really have to think through and know each individual. So, is there any questions? Q&A. They told me to give 5 minutes Q&A.
Can you give us an example of what your company specifically does to do this commitment culture? Like,
Yeah.
is it like a meeting, or do you like everyone like
I almost want to pick on you to answer this. Jackson's the best at culture I've ever seen.
Bring him up.
Come up here with me. So I want you guys to know, when Dr. Manning, he finds individuals and he looks for people that he feels that could actually create culture. There's a reason he chose the Milwaukee Bucks over... Did anyone see the Miami Heat fight when Spoelstra and Jimmy Butler got into a fight on the court in a timeout? Spoelstra was calling him the next day saying, I need help. Like, this guy is the best. And he's actually said Jackson's one of the best he's ever seen at culture. What's something we've done for culture? I think of like the charities, I think...
It's we're spread across Utah. We're in several different states in the Mountain West. We have a group in St. George that, for a lot of years, asked, how do we become like you guys on the Wasatch Front? And really, culture is about creating moments together. It's about calling each other after work, or organizing something, or finding hobbies, and genuinely caring about one another. We do the charities. We've done things where we get not just the employee, but the employee spouse and also their kids to come together to do something good. What's your favorite charity we've ever done?
Right now it's the Move charity, which involves SUU.
Okay. Well,
I actually love the one too where we did the packing, all the stuff, the humanitarian kit
A
packing.
couple years ago, we thought, what can we do to impact the community? We thought, okay, Salt Lake City has a lot of homeless people, and what should we do with our group? And it was only a 2-hour thing on a Saturday, but everybody brought their wives and their children, and they came together, and it was like the Ford manufacturing. It was assembly line where we put together how many thousands of
Kits.
thousands of homeless.
And it wasn't just that day. It was really interesting
It was prepping for weeks and weeks. And
yeah,
doing all the
each
stuff.
department was in charge of like, hey, I'm over this part of the hygiene kit, I'm over this part, and they created together. They all were working together. The more we stepped out of it, the more people got involved, the more they wanted to take over and have ownership of something. That's one of the biggest things. I think there's a lot of people in our company that feel like they don't look at it as where they work. It's like they're proud of it just as much as we are. It's almost like they have ownership of it mentally.
You have to allow people to contribute. And so that's what that did, was it allowed every group and families to contribute, and then they felt like they're part of the company, and they were. They were part of it. They were
Yeah.
the company, and we didn't do anything.
We don't have titles, really, in our company. We have something called linear management. I think I called it something different.
You did.
You guys make me nervous. Linear management, where we, like Jackson right now is over a certain area, but they have multiple people that can almost do the same thing that Jackson does, because we don't know when someone's going to be able to connect with somebody. People will want to go to someone for help. They want to go to someone they connect with for help. Like Jackson, I'm not going to pick on Jackson, but there was someone that was in his area for a lot of years. His name's Austin Wade. And randomly, because of our linear management style, he went to someone that's not over his area. And he said, hey, I'm really interested in this. I want to try to do this. And right now, this guy's been with us for years and years. He's making a transition that will change his life, but it's because he finally found someone that he would connect with. And it wasn't me, it wasn't Jackson, it was someone totally different, because we keep our management style so it's almost like you have multiple people that you can constantly work with and be part of. I think that's a huge thing. We don't do titles. Titles and linear management is something I believe so strongly in.
So if someone wanted to work for you and Jackson, what would they need to do? What's the process? How does someone get an entry-level job at First Colony?
You talk to Erin.
That's the boss. No, I think the biggest thing would be to, mortgages is something that's not taught in universities. I wish it was more, because it's a very good career if you can get into it. I think, honestly, last stat I heard is 1 in 8 people that actually go and get their mortgage license and go through the process renew it the second year. It's a pretty defeating. So you've got to find a company that, we do this. We're more into growing young loan officers, taking someone that knows absolutely zero and then growing them in our industry. That is something we've really prided ourselves in, is actually, we find the people that are outgoing, fun, good personality, and we really try to build off that.
Yeah, the best way really is to walk in. I think our number 2 loan officer in the company, this is somebody that makes a lot of money. He just walked in and kept showing up. I didn't even actually hire him for about 2 weeks. I was like, are you really gonna keep coming? He's like, yeah, and he was annoying. And he just kept coming. He was dressed better than I am right now, which this is rare. When's the last time you saw me in a...
No, when you walked in, so he surprised me. I didn't know he was coming. That's support. That's friendship.
But you gotta, we're in an industry where you cannot nothing is handed to you. You have to go out and get it and go out and get it. And I'll tell you, anytime somebody calls me and asks me for a job, and say, hey, I want to be a loan officer, I say, great. And I actually give them a task and see if they'll call me back again. We're not a huge company. We're just under 300 people. Mm-hmm. But I know every single person in the company. It's intimate.
So what's a starting salary comp plan for a mortgage officer?
So most companies will say, do not even do this. I think we're at 35,000, 40,000 a year.
Yeah.
But it literally is just to sit in someone's office and watch them. That's all you do, to learn the business. Like I said, there's no mortgage 101. Sorry, I wish there was in universities, because.
So that's your internship, and how long does that take?
Usually someone sticks in that thing for a year. I've never seen anyone in our industry at this point, if they stick in it for 5 years, make less than $200,000 a year. If they stick with it and they hustle. Have you ever seen anyone make less than that in the last 5 years?
No.
It's a good industry. You have to know someone, you have to fight your way into it. Culture is a big thing in our company. We'll fire people if they start breaking culture. I think that's one of the reasons we've grown so much, and because it's a family that kind of raises a loan officer. Any other questions? What else?
How do you create a profit from, so you have your culture that you build up so well, how do you make a profit start from that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. You have to have a good concept before obviously you can't just say I'm going to have culture and then say you're going to be profitable. You have to have a good business plan. But the thing is, so I grew up in this company. I think when we took it over, there was maybe 30 people. But the thing is, and we weren't profitable then, I will say that. It was a dogfight when we first took this. if people believe in something with you and you have a good concept, I always take the law of, sometimes I might be only 70% right, but if 100% of us are doing it, that 70% is going to win because everyone believes in it and puts a passion into it. I'm talking to a young person right now who she has 4 or 5 employees and she's plateaued. She has an amazing business. It does very well. And the whole concept I've been talking to her about is she's got to find someone that she trusts and someone that buys into her culture and what she believes in. And that's going to let her duplicate herself or take away from herself so she can get back into what she's good at. What happens a lot in businesses is people have a great business plan, a great strategy, but I grew up doing mortgages. I don't do mortgages anymore. And that's kind of frustrating to me and I get pulled away. So in order for me to stay in it, you have to have multiple people that you trust, multiple people that have the same passions as you, so you can go back to what you specialize in. Does that answer your question? Like if you've got a concept, always be able to stay with what you're the most passionate about and surround yourself with people that care, because if they care, that care commitment culture is going to be there. You really have to, and if someone is breaking your culture, you have to eliminate it fast. We're done?
Thanks so much for coming.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for coming up.